At the beginning of 2020, I made 5 New Year's resolutions. Today, July 23rd, I have completed my first New Year's resolution out of the 5. The first New Year's resolution that I completed was a 200-day French challenge, where I would make sure that I would learn a little bit of French at least once per day for 200 days out of the year. I can proudly say that I've already accomplished that. Most of it has been through Duolingo. As you can see here, I am actually at a 195-day streak. And the only reason that it's not at 200 is because I did miss a few days on here, but I had like the streak freeze enabled. The streak freeze allowed me to maintain my record essentially. And I still learned French those days. I just didn't do it by midnight, essentially. On Duolingo, at least. That's not to say that Duolingo has been my only way of learning French, but it by far has been the easiest way for me to maintain the 200-day French challenge resolution. That said, I can't just stick with Duolingo. There is very low retention when it comes to Duolingo, and while it's fun and it's easy, and it definitely helps building good habits into taking a little bit of time out of each and every day to learn a language, it's not enough. My 200-day streak did not really improve my French. I learned a bunch of words, my vocabulary is better, but my retention isn't. There are a bunch of words that I've learned on here that, yes, I can recognize them when they're written, but I don't know them. I can't pull it off the top of my head. Today, the word tote. It's early. I totally forgot what that word meant, even though I've seen it in Duolingo several times before. And that's just one example. On top of that, my listening skills and my speaking skills really don't matter in Duolingo. I mean, there are like speaking exercises and they do read out the words. It's not enough. You need to hear it in like actual conversation for practicality. Some of the other resources that I'm going to be turning to continue my French learning, there's a few of them. One of them is this Spotify podcast that I found. It is called Coffee Break French. Right now I just finished the 3rd episode. I'm getting further in it. It's great for beginners like me. It teaches you the language slowly, and it's mostly in English, so you're able to like understand what you're learning. It gives you common phrases based on different themes, so you're not just practicing speaking individual words, but you're practicing merging the words together into proper sentences. And I have to say, that's been fairly effective so far. Even though I've only gotten in a few episodes, it's definitely helped with my speaking in particular because it gives you time to actually perform the sentences. I imagine that they have other languages as well if you're looking to learn something other than French. That just happened to be the one that I'm learning right now. In addition, there are other resources out there. I tried the app Memrise, but it seems to have similar issues with Duolingo in that I don't think the retention is going to be very effective with it. I guess it's more so of like a Duolingo alternative rather than something to use in addition to it. I have been watching French shows on Netflix. Not much. I've only watched like a couple episodes of this show called Very Secret Service, which I forget what it's called in the English version. In the French version. Boy. It's I forget what it's called in the French version. I can't pronounce it off the top of my head. It's essentially like a comedy spy show parody. It's pretty cool, but I have difficulty understanding anything that they're saying. I'm currently watching this show in French with French subtitles, which means that I can only get context clues with what they're speaking, but at least I can match their language with what I'm reading. I heard that that's an effective way to improve your listening skills and your reading skills as well, but so far it hasn't really done much for me. Coffee break is probably the next way for me to really advance my French learning. And I'll still probably use Duolingo, but I don't think I'm as worried about the streaks. I think it needs to be less of my primary focus. So I might take a few days away from Duolingo and just let that streak expire, so that way I can prioritize Duolingo being supplemental instead of my primary source of French. Yeah, I would say that's it so far when it comes to my French learning. I have watched plenty of language YouTubers out there. Ikenna definitely comes to mind as one that I've been watching a lot. He has all sorts of different videos on how to improve language skills, so I would definitely check that out. In addition, there's this cool YouTube channel called Jaume NYC. I imagine that's how he pronounces it, or it could be Jaume NYC. I'm not really sure. And it's usually just videos of him going into different areas and trying to speak the language. And since New York City is such a diverse population, you have like Hispanic communities, you have Chinese communities, you have all sorts of communities that may speak English, but it's not their primary language. It's just very interesting to watch him practice all of these different languages. I know that he's got some Omegle videos where he is speaking the language to other people from other countries. And Ikenna also has some VR chat videos. I guess VR chat is actually a fairly effective way to learn a language. I know that there are like different regions that people go in and they just play the game and they can speak to each other to try and learn the language. And there's different sub-communities for people trying to learn languages, and I think language exchanges in VR chat as well. And I find that super interesting. I think that's really cool. We're in like a totally new age of time, especially with the quarantine going on, with how people are learning. And to learn a language now, I think there's a lot more opportunity out there, and there's a lot of different ways to expand your knowledge when it comes to your ability. I think that's really cool. I'm still at a very early stage. I can recognize some words, but not others. I think the other thing I want to do, I heard about Anki, which is like a flashcard software. I've tried it. It's hard for me to use. I don't really like the way that it's put out, so I'm thinking about making some physical flashcards that I can use just to memorize common words and just make sure that I've got them locked in my brain. I mean, I might go back to Anki because I know that there's like progression in like words, and like, okay, if you forgot this word, you can come back to it, and it like gives you a cycle, I guess. There's like a memory routine where like they kind of phase the words out over time, but then they bring them back just to help you remember them later on so you don't forget them, but they kind of like space out over time, like how often they're repeated. So yeah, maybe I should give Anki another chance. I didn't like it the first time, but I mean, I guess it wouldn't hurt to go back. I like the idea of using physical flashcards and just like, you know, maybe just writing down the French version on one side, the English version on the other side, and just having something physical and tangible that I can practice with. I think that might be the way to go for me. At least for like the 100 most common French words. And then maybe I can move on to phrases after that or something. This has been my French language journey so far. This is the third language that I've essentially learned / am trying to learn. I only say this because I took Spanish as like my foreign language in high school. My Spanish skills are very rusty. I bet if I actively trained towards it, my Spanish would be a lot better than my French is right now, which I'm actively practicing. If any of you are interested in learning another language, I'll drop a bunch of resources in the description. I think it's really cool that like I used this as one of my New Year's resolutions and it's already completed in July, which means I can focus other time towards the other resolutions, which I'm kind of slacking on. But I mean, that's not the point. The point is to like brag about how far I've come in French, right? Well, At least when it comes to developing the habits of being able to practice every day. I've got that down. Still got a ways to go. All right. Take care for now. Resources in the description. I hope to see you in another video. Take care. Peace out. Bye.